Board. Today is Wednesday, May 19th, 2021. We are still having, Mashpee Town Hall is still closed due to the public COVID-19 health emergency. So we are doing this meeting as a virtual meeting again. It is being broadcast live on local channel 18. We do have a public hearing tonight, so the call-in conference number is 508-539-1400, extension 8585 for any of the public that wants to participate in that. It is also being streamed live on Town of Mashpee website, https://www.mashpeema.gov/channel-18. I'd like to call the meeting to order and invite everyone to stand to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda is the approval of the minutes, the review of the meeting minutes from May 5th, 2021. I have looked at those. I didn't see anything that stood out. Does anyone have any questions or concerns with the minutes? I'll take a motion to accept the minutes from May 5th.
So be.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Dennis and seconded by Mary Wagon. All those in favor of approval of the minutes from May 5th, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, it's passed. I think I'm going to jump ahead to the, we do have an A&R that's on the schedule from Robert Allen and Michelle Wu. As everyone did today, we received an email from Evan with regards to this A&R to, lack of a better word, postpone it, Evan, to another day?
So then the A&Rs are filed at the night of the meeting. The applicant wrote to request that he not file the plan tonight. If you see on the plan that you were provided with, there's adjacent marshland, and the ownership is listed as the two applicants. There was I guess a title issue, and the ownership of that marshland is inaccurately shown and notated on the plan. So they need to rectify that issue prior to seeking endorsement of the A&R. So we're going to take this off the agenda and await further communication from the applicant to file and seek endorsement. So pending that issue, I'm not exactly sure when we'll expect it. I'm not sure if it's a simple notation issue or for more land surveying questions need to be responded to. But at this time, the A&R will not be being filed and no action is necessary.
We don't need to take any action on that tonight. On to new business, since we have a few minutes here before the public hearing, there is a discussion on the approval of proposed amendments to the Planning Board Special Permit Regulations, Schedule of Fees. I know Evan sent out two documents. One's related to the public hearing, and one is related, if you go into your packets, the Special Permit Regulations Schedule 7 fee schedule. That's for us. Has everyone had a chance to look at that? Anyone have any questions? If no one has any questions, I'll take a motion to accept the Special Permit Regulations Section 7 fee schedule as written or as presented by Evan.
So moved.
I have a motion made by John to accept it as written. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have a second by Dennis? All those in favor of the Special Permit Regulations as written, let's say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nope. Great. Thank you. Boy, we moved right through that. We're 4 minutes in. All right. Well, we gotta wait till 7:10 to do the public hearing.
6 minutes.
Why don't we? Anyone have any problem with going with the committee and commission reports? Oh no, actually, that's going to be part of the reorganization, correct?
Well, you could do
Never
another.
reorganize.
Well, we still got this term.
Why don't we just go and discuss the reorganization of the board officers? As I said when I took office last year, I think it's great that we rotate and move forward, and I'm just curious, is anyone interested in the position of chairman? Or anyone want a motion to represent?
I'll nominate John Malone, start the rotation going.
Okay.
Second.
All right, do we have anyone else that wants to nominate anyone for chairman? Okay, how about, why don't I just go to them all? Vice chairman.
How about Jack? I nominate Jack.
Okay, we have a second on that?
I second that.
Oh, we have vice chairman. What's the third position, secretary?
Clerk.
Clerk.
Oh, clerk, I'm sorry, clerk. I keep saying secretary, that's the other committee.
I nominate Joe.
You want to nominate Joe as clerk? Do I have a second? All right, those that have been, do I have a second? Did I get that view from John?
John.
Second.
Okay. Those that were just nominated, does anyone have a problem with the nominations? All right, we might as well take it as a group. All those in favor of the nominations as presented, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. So that puts John Falone as the new chairman of the board. So John, if you want to go on and take over and go over to the board representatives and assignments, I thank you all.
Thanks, Jack.
Can I just add one other thing? I forgot to say this. For Dennis and Mary, congratulations on your reelection, by the way.
Oh, yes,
Thank
congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Thanks, Jack.
All right.
And thanks for your leadership over the last year. You did a fine job.
Sure did.
Okay. Board representatives and assignments to committees. I guess my first question would be, is everybody okay with the committees they're assigned to, or do we need to make any changes, or can we just go with what we have in place?
Know what we have in place, John.
I'm
Everybody
okay
good?
with it.
And I'm good with that as well.
Okay.
You need to take a motion to
Jack,
that effect?
you're on that commission forever. It took you forever to get on it, so.
Well, there's some issues there. One of the leading members, not to go off on a tangent, I'm sorry, John, just recently passed away, the Falmouth representative.
Wow.
So we have some issues, and the lead of the program was injured, as I said in our last meeting, and he's been unavailable. So our meetings on our group is kind of at a standstill right now. But yeah, I'll stay there.
All right. Do we need to vote that?
I'll make a motion that we accept the committee positions.
Jack, you're not the chairman anymore.
I'm making a motion.
Oh, yeah.
He's making the motion.
My bad.
Making a motion. He's the
Go
chairman.
ahead.
A motion
Yeah.
that we accept the committee positions as they already stand.
I second
Do we
it.
have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
There's
None.
one
All in favor?
appointment there's one
Go ahead.
appointment that's made by the chair. I forget which position it is, Evan.
It's been design review the past 2 years, so I'm going to assume that that is
Okay.
accurate.
So you have to appoint him separately, but go ahead.
So, Chairman Falone, Joe Callahan has served on the design review committee for the past 2 years, if you could consider him as appointee.
I will appoint Joe Callahan to the design committee.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is a vote. Thank you. Okay, Evan, you want to take the local comprehensive plan RFP?
Yeah, we probably have enough time to get that in. As I had alluded to at our last meeting, the RFP responses will be submitted to the town no later than June 2nd? I think it's 2nd, maybe 6th, I apologize, first week of June. And I will need, as defined by the RFP, 2 planning board representatives to participate along with myself and the town manager or his designee to do the preliminary review of those responses, really just to determine responsiveness to the minimum evaluation criteria of the RFP, and also to participate in the preliminary proposal meeting on May 26th, along with that would be just me to answer questions by potential respondents and to add a little bit of more context to what we're trying to get out of the comprehensive planning process. So that would be May 26th, time undetermined at this time. And then subsequent to the submission of responses, 1 day for reviewing of the submissions for minimum evaluation criteria. Those 2 members will participate along with that group to make recommendations to the full board, who will deliberate and contemplate the best proposal and then ultimately make a recommendation to the chief procurement officer as the town manager. So if we could, if there are nominations or if anyone's interested, I can follow up with you with the specifics for what we're doing internally to manage and navigate that process.
I'd be interested in participating, Evan. Anybody else from the board?
Very good.
Yeah, that's good.
Perfect.
And do I just need a general consensus of the board, or do you want to take a vote to nominate Mary and the chairman for the LCP review?
I make a motion, we nominate Mary and John for the LCPC review.
I'll second that.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It is a vote.
All right,
Thank you.
John and Mary, I'll follow up with both of you individually after this with additional details.
Thanks, Evan.
All right, and open the public hearing.
John, you should have the public hearing notice in your packet. You want to open the public hearing by reading that into the record.
Hold on a minute.
And if you don't have it readily available, you could request another board member read it into the record for you.
I have it in front of me, John. I'm going to read it.
Please, thank you.
Pursuant to the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81Q, the Mashpee Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 19, 2021, at 7:10 p.m. at the Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great North. Obviously, this is being held via remote. To consider the updating the Mashpee rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land. The Planning Board is considering an amendment to its schedule of fees to require the submission of a retainer to be held in escrow for the purpose of peer review of any submitted plans by the consulting engineer and any required inspections. Submitted by the chair.
Evan, anybody on the line?
We're not receiving any calls at this time. I would probably recommend going around to the individual board members for questions or comments.
Okay. Anybody? Questions, comments?
No, I think it goes right along with the discussion we had before. I like this idea of the retainer. It just sets out so that it's much more manageable than the old way.
Yeah.
I agree.
And so, Mr. Chairman, if I may, just because we didn't have much of the discussion in the special permit regulations, they really mimic each other. And I am receiving a call actually, so I'm going to go field that call, and I'll leave you and I'll inform you in just a second. So let me transfer that in.
Thank you, Evan.
And of many talents.
I guess.
Mr. Chairman, you have Richard Klein on the phone, interested in speaking to the board.
Good evening, Mr. Klein. Go ahead. Hello?
Let me make sure he's there.
Watch him order a pizza.
Mr. Klein?
Try now,
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Klein?
Mr. Klein, are you on the
Yes.
line?
I'm still on the line. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay. Can you? Okay, I'm asking, it's one question to the planning board regarding public meetings for the Mashpee Commons.
Mr. Chairman?
It's getting echo.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of echo, Evan.
It's probably, Mr. Klein, could you turn the volume down on your television in the background?
Yes, I will.
And Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Klein is posing a question to the board relative to public engagement and public meetings to the Mashpee Commons conversation, but does not specifically have a question relative to the amendments to the rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land.
Okay. Well, will they be making a presentation to the residents regarding the parcels of land that they're talking about and giving us some sort of rendering or 3D diagram of what they intend doing?
Yes, Mr. Klein, I would recommend if you could follow along through the rest of the meeting. Details relative to the development agreement and subsequent engagement and presentations by Mashpee Commons will be discussed later on in this meeting.
Okay, will I be able to ask any questions later on in the meeting?
That would be at the discretion of the chairman.
Okay.
At this time, Mr. Chairman, I would like to open up the line to additional comments relative to the subdivision rules and regulations.
Please.
Mr. Klein, would you please continue to follow on the meeting, and when we get to Mashpee Commons, who will be representing themselves tonight, when we discuss the old business item on the agenda, the chairman at that time could contemplate accepting any additional public comments or questions should you have them at that time. And
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
And the phone's no longer ringing, John.
Okay.
If I may, though, I was just about to dive in a little bit about the detail of what was actually changed with regard to the subdivision rules and regulations. And the same goes for the special permit regs, but I just want everyone to be aware. Previously, or until you take action tonight, the board has a filing fee, a review fee, an inspection fee, and a re-inspection fee. Really what we're doing is consolidating the review fee, inspection fee, and re-inspection fee into a singular dollar amount of what is proposed as $5,000 to be held in escrow. All of that money that still remains in that account upon certification from Mr. Pesci that the project was completed in accordance with the approved plans will be released back to the applicant with interest. So that's the only change, is kind of a consolidation of those three fees into one and to be held in escrow.
Okay. Seems we have no public comment on that particular issue.
No one else is on the line, John.
No. So, do I close the public meeting?
You would seek
We
a
gotta
motion.
close
You
the
would seek a
public
motion.
hearing.
Okay.
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay. Any opposition? None opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we gotta make a motion.
Yeah, do we have to make a motion to approve the change now?
Yes.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we update the Mashpee rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land as presented here tonight.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is a vote. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, next, let's go back to the agenda. Okay, next on the agenda is old business. Update, discussion, and possible action relative to Mashpee Commons Development Agreement. You all have a copy of the draft schedule. Evan, are we being joined by anyone from?
Yes, I've just admitted Attorney Cox as well as Buff Chase representing Mashpee Commons.
Excellent.
Right.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Great. For the record, Eliza Cox from Nutter, McLennan, and Fish on behalf of Mashpee Commons. Buff Chase is also on the Zoom call, and you can see him on the screen as well. So, Evan, I don't know if you want me to dive in or if you'd like to do so, but Evan and I have been communicating to come up with a proposed meeting schedule to meet with the board to discuss the proposed zoning that we're in the process of fine-tuning for distribution to the board. And I believe Evan has circulated that to all of the planning board members. And so this evening, we were hoping to gain consensus with the board on this meeting schedule so that we can get it posted and put in all of our calendars for moving forward with meetings. And to be clear, the focus of these meetings will be around the proposed zoning that we're proposing, which is a component of the overall development agreement. So there will be separate meetings to talk about other aspects of the development agreement. This meeting schedule, including public hearings, this meeting schedule would be to focus on the proposed zoning that we're in the process of preparing.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would say Eliza laid it out pretty well, exactly as I would like to mimic. I proposed the schedule to the Commons and their representatives, taking into consideration your availability as best as was practicable. It's a series of, excluding tonight, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 meetings proposed for the purposes of discussing the zoning, and with a goal based on former Chairman Phelan's goal of getting this submitted for the October town meeting, which would contemplate a submission date or a vote to submit of June 30th. So what we haven't defined at this time is meeting times within this general framework subject to change. So I just wanted to present this to you so that the board, additionally, the community has some clarity around when discussions will take place and what their opportunities will be for this specific component of the development agreement, what opportunities they will have to engage on that aspect of the discussion. So I present this to you for your review and consideration.
Thank you. Go ahead, Don.
I have a question, John. A development agreement, do we have a signed agreement before we give any zoning changes? Or are we going to give a zoning change and hope Mashpee Commons signs the development agreement? Because they could easily, I'm not sure, but if we give them zoning changes and we don't have a signed development agreement with the three parties, they could come back and say, we don't want this development agreement with the three parties. We're just going to go straight to the Cape Cod Commission. I don't understand. Do we have a signed agreement? That's what I'm asking. Before we go with zoning changes.
So
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak to that as well.
Go ahead, Mary.
So, we haven't received the bylaw, right? We don't have it yet, right? How many pages is the bylaw?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So we're still in the process of tweaking we have a draft that
Okay.
we've prepared. I have it
5
near
pages
me.
or 500?
Oh, no, nothing like that. There's several pages of diagrams currently. It's about 15 pages, I would say.
15 pages, okay. So, right, there was nothing in our packet, the bylaw wasn't in the packet, the development agreement wasn't in the packet. And there's a serious obstacle going forward with the bylaw without the development agreement. The development agreement gives power to the town to require proper mitigation and benefits to the town in exchange to a zoning bylaw amendment. For example, you can give, density in residential area for like the traffic light, right? but there's things, these proffers and mitigations, some of those things can't fit into a bylaw. That's why we're using a development agreement. That's why I supported it. And by our bylaw, our development agreement bylaw, the planning board has to consider for this project like this, affordable housing, infrastructure, open space, community facilities, and economic opportunities. So that's why we have to marry the development agreement to the bylaw. And once the bylaw is done, the development agreement effectively is done too. And there's no legal requirement for the applicant to return to us to sign a development agreement once the bylaw is approved by town meeting. So I understand that the applicant wants to move along, and I'm happy to start working on that. Have something legally binding, a legally binding mechanism in place that the bylaw is not effective until a development agreement is approved by the town. And for this, we really need town council's advice on this. We need our town council to advise on this. We can't go forward unless something is legally binding. And I don't want to bring up the past, but we have done for applicants, we have approved bylaw changes with promises they were going to come back and continue the discussion. And that never happened. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not going down that road unless it's legally binding that the bylaw is not going to be effective until the development agreement is signed.
Mr. Chairman, I think I can absolutely reach out to town council relative to planning board member Wagon's questions and provide a response from him.
There must be some legal mechanism for us to protect the town for that.
Okay, go ahead, Jack.
Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read the whole development agreement bylaw that we have in the town. Isn't there a section at the end that actually references the bylaw and the development agreement, and if there is a conflict, how that is resolved at the end of the development agreement? So, for me, I want to see what this proposed bylaw looks like. I know that you would have history, but I think 3 members of the board here don't have any history, and so I want to come in this with an open mind and see it. But I read the whole development agreement, and it isn't a conflict when you say looking at the bylaw prior to the development agreement. So, for me, I'm kind of more open-minded about this, and I know that you're referencing the previous history, but I also are amiable to what you're saying about having the lawyer look at it and making sure that we don't go down a road that we're stuck into. So I understand what you're saying.
I'm dying for the bylaw. Send it to me tonight.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could respond, we're looking forward to getting it to you too. We've been working on with our architects a pattern book that helps to visualize the proposed zoning as well. And we're very excited to share it with the board and the community and look forward to doing that. And absolutely, your town attorney should be involved in reviewing zoning and the development agreement. We fully support his involvement in that process.
And John, can I add just a point of clarity? For those folks watching at home, a vote to submit a zoning bylaw to the selectmen for their consideration to place on the warrant does not offer any approval of that bylaw. That only can happen at town meetings. So
I'm sorry, I disagree with
Mary, let him speak, please.
Okay.
Go ahead, Evan.
So, again, I'll just repeat that the planning board's vote to submit an article does not grant any approval to that article. It requires action by town meeting. So that would happen in October.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to push back on that. The town elected us to do bylaws. It absolutely, whatever this board puts forth, know that people are going to say the planning board recommended that bylaw. Whether we say, you can have box stores, or whether you can say you can only have residential there or only commercial there, that is absolutely the power of the planning board to do that. So don't whittle down your power. This is not a pass by, whoever comes in sends a bylaw and we just check it up. No, we need to look at this to see if we feel it is the best for the town as planning board members, as elected representatives of this town.
So correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that what these meetings are going to be? Isn't that the purpose of these meetings?
Yeah.
that the Commons is recommending?
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
So, everybody's got a copy of the schedule. Go ahead, Jack, I'm sorry.
Well, and that's what I said. I think for me, I just want to get to, let's set some times here, and let's get to this first meeting and see what this is about. I think we'll all have a better understanding.
Agreed.
I agree with Jack. Let's set the meeting, let's get going.
Okay,
But
so we've
I have
got,
to see the plan too, though.
so we've got the schedule in front of us. Any issues, concerns with the dates put forth?
Well,
Mr. Chairman,
I can't make Tuesdays.
There's only one Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, is that right?
Yeah, I can't do Tuesdays.
Is that the 8th?
Yep, correct.
Mr. Chairman, through you, Evan, can you send me the list of dates?
Yes, I can, Ed.
I
Mary,
haven't seen
can
them,
you-
so
Is the 8th is the 8th off the calendar if we are done by 7 o'clock?
The,
That's the one you have to be done by 7, but I can't make Tuesdays. And I told you guys that.
Yeah, you can't make Tuesdays at all.
No.
Do we want to try to have it before the, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, Chairman. Do we want to try to have it maybe before Wednesday, before the meeting, our regular meeting?
If that'll work, that's fine.
9th?
our,
That you, Mary?
our
Yeah,
regular.
the 9th I can do.
Okay. And what time we're proposing starting? Just
6 o'clock?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, on June 9th, I have another hearing at 7 in another town, so I would have to be done if we're doing the night before 6:30, I would say.
That works for me.
So if everybody, why don't I propose the 9th and let's start at, can we start at 5 or 4:30 so we have enough time?
I can start as early as you want. I think, Joe, what time can you start?
I can start at 5.
Okay.
I'm the same. I can start at 5.
5
So
o'clock.
5 o'clock on the 5 o'clock on the 9th, and Ms. Cox, that'll give us 90 minutes.
Thank you. Great.
Hey,
Thank you.
that could be in the town hall, right?
I'll have to confer with the town manager
I
and
don't
confirm
know.
the locations, Dennis. I think that's still undetermined at this time, that early in June. It's possible, but
Yeah.
I am not certain.
I think
Okay,
the governor
George, you'll have to bring pizza, because you're the new chairman always brings pizzas for the first meeting.
That's what I heard.
I want pepperoni.
That is, I have not been told that. And I did not participate, I wasn't part of that when Jack became chair.
Forget it.
Okay.
You chair now.
Go ahead, Jack.
Can we talk about the second, this?
Yeah. Ms. Cox, details on the 2nd, because we've got 2 meetings on the calendar there.
Yep, so we thought it would be really useful if the board is willing to come on a site visit. We would rent a trolley or a bus and drive around the site, show you some of the areas that perhaps you may not have seen before, including the wastewater treatment facility area, and have our architects and design team walk you through some of the design features that you've probably been there, but with a different lens around the property. So we were suggesting a site visit with the board, a posted public site visit for early afternoon, and then coming to your regular meeting on that evening as well.
Excellent. Go ahead, Jack.
Are we going to be provided with the diagrams and things you suggested earlier?
Yes, we will provide that. The goal will be to we can deliver it at the site visit, but that evening we will give a full presentation with diagrams and the draft bylaw.
Excellent.
What time will that be?
We were suggesting 2 o'clock, if that works for everybody for the site visit, and then at your regular meeting that evening.
Okay.
How's 2 o'clock sound for everybody?
Good.
I can make it
I'll
work.
have to look at my schedule, but potentially.
Yep, I can make that work.
And that evening on the 2nd, do we want to start at 6?
I kind of would like to start at 6. That way we're not completely bottling up our regular meeting.
Okay.
That's okay?
That's fine. Good.
June
Any
10th?
other concerns, thoughts on the proposed schedule?
All right, so June 9th, we're starting at 5. What time are we starting on June 10th? That's a Thursday.
Want to just do a 7?
You could go back to 6 as well and keep it that earlier time, I don't know.
I think 6 is a little bit better, Jack. Is that okay?
Yeah, that works for me.
Fine.
6 is fine.
Okay.
Dennis, good with 6?
Yeah, good.
And,
Okay.
June 16th is back to our regular meeting, so you can
Mhm.
7 or you can make it 6 as well.
Yeah, just for consistency, let's make them 6 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Okay, for all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right.
Looks like
Very
we
good,
got a
thank you.
plan.
Ms. Cox and Mr. Chase, thank you very much. We're looking forward to working with you. Oh, I'm sorry, Mary?
Yeah, so, Liza, there was, in our packet, there was an email from 2018 with a list of 24 questions, I think 24, that the planning board, had, before all these meetings ended. So, you might want to look at those.
Okay.
To have answers to those questions.
Okay, thank you. We will look at that.
Yeah,
Did
and
you
there's
say
some
from
other.
2018, Mary?
I think it was 2018.
August
It's in the-
27, 2018 was the date in the email from Mary, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Joe, what was it, 2019?
Well, I'll just read the date from your email was August 27, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was, in our previous packet, there was some materials that Rob Hanson submitted. So you might want to look at that letter too.
Evan, can you send me copies of those, would you mind?
Absolutely.
Okay. Again, thanks very much.
Oh.
We're looking.
Wait, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Yes.
When does the public get to come? And, I mean, my recommendation is that you allow public comment at all of these meetings. That's what I recommend. On here, there is a reference to a potential listening session. We should really let the public know how and when they can comment on that.
Go ahead, Jack.
I agree. I think, except for the trolley tour, I think that would be a little bit cumbersome.
You know, you might
Evan?
want to allow public comment at the beginning and at the end or something like that. I don't know, but you can tell people are interested and they have questions, and we don't want to. My opinion is you don't want to leave it all to one meeting because it might drag on.
Evan, thoughts?
What I might recommend is, because I'm in general agreement that, the public's very interested and they have a number of questions and are eager to get answers to what we're discussing here. What I might suggest is that, similar to the way the selectmen run their meetings, throughout each of these zoning-specific conversations on each agenda, we do list public comment, but make it more of a listening session like I defined on the schedule. Allow everyone the opportunity to raise their questions, their concerns, or their opinions to the board for you to contemplate and consider as we work through the zoning, without much of a dialogue, because at some point throughout this process, likely after June 30th, we will have a number of scheduled public hearings, whereas that dialogue will be occurring and taking place. So I think we should provide that opportunity on the zoning conversation, but really as a listening session for the board to kind of absorb public sentiment with regard to the proposed expansion.
Okay,
I don't
thank you.
understand the difference, Mr. Chairman, between the two of that, the two that
Well, the difference
Evan
is we listen to comments but don't respond, as opposed to a dialogue back and forth. And I tend to agree with Evan for these meetings, because there will be listening sessions after June 30th. We've got real work to do between now and then. We'll invite the public for comment, but there won't be a dialogue back and forth at that point.
And just additionally,
Is that
Mr.
what you-
Chairman, if we could keep a record of the questions, the board could respond to those to the general public at the following meeting.
But,
Yeah,
that'd be helpful.
that's reasonable.
yep,
I agree.
but that makes good sense. Thank you, Evan. Okay, any other thoughts on the schedule, comments on the schedule? Very good. Thank you, Ms. Cox, Mr. Chase. We're looking forward to getting down to work and moving forward with this process. Very exciting.
Super. Thank you very much, and thank you, Evan.
Thank you both.
And so,
Okay.
John, if I can just repeat to you and the board what times I have so I can make sure we're all on the same page prior to a motion being made.
Please.
All right, on June 2nd, morning to, or I guess afternoon site tour, 2 p.m. Afternoon, regular meeting will move from 7 to 6 p.m. On Tuesday, is it June 9th is Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, June 9th at 5 p.m. On June 10th, 16th, 23rd, and the 30th, they will all be 6 p.m.
Yeah,
Correct.
So we will prepare agendas for each of those dates relative to discussions of the zoning with the inclusion of a public comment period.
Excellent. Okay, do we have a motion to accept that schedule?
I
Okay.
didn't hear the last thing that Evan said.
So I will, what I said, Mary, was that I will produce agendas for the dates to include conversations and deliberations on the draft zoning proposal with the inclusion of a public comment period.
Yes.
At each
Okay.
meeting.
Thank you.
Good.
I made the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is a vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's finally moving forward. All right.
So when did they say when we were going to get the bylaw? Oh, on the
Second.
on the first date. Okay.
On the correct.
On the second. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if they can give that to us earlier, please have them send it to us.
I've requested as such. I've kind of made clear that the sooner the better with practice. And just in addition to the zoning, you'll also receive the pattern book that she had mentioned relative to drawings, renderings, and also at that point I had contemplated at our last meeting the production of 2 one-page documents about the development agreement process as a whole, and discussion of existing zoning. Hopefully we can have all of that as a singular package so we can really dive in.
Great.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
What was really helpful during one, I forget what application it was, Evan set up a web page where he put up everything on the website. So I would recommend doing that again. That was very helpful because then people weren't contacting planning board members individually for the materials. It's all on the website.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Mr. Chairman, Patty and I I'll build a new website similar to we had for It was the cell tower application for 101 Red Brook
I didn't want to
Road.
bring it up, but
And but there we can build a web page, whereas all submitted correspondence, project-related documents can be listed in a singular location, as well as advertising, public engagement, and public participation opportunities. So we'll get to work on that tomorrow.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you, Evan. Okay, moving on to the agenda, the chairman's report. I asked Chairman, do you have a report that you wanted to present?
Nope.
Yeah, current chairman doesn't either. Okay, town planner, Evan, town planner's report.
No report. I did just want to note to Dennis that Ed and I did meet on site at the Blue Castle Drive at the subdivision
Okay.
in Aquay Highlands. I think Ed noted a number of issues, specifically where the material was being stockpiled there adjacent to
Yeah.
the retention basin. And I connected Ed with the developer to work on some more significant erosion control measures, and maybe Ed can fill you in a little bit more on that.
That sounds good, thanks.
Yes, I had a good site visit. I think I understand what's going on. There's a number of sites, a number of locations on that site that the erosion controls aren't being properly managed just because he's got stockpiles that he just created, obviously, and you know that, Dennis, obviously. So
Yeah.
I've got his information. I have not reached out to him, but I will do that. I'll do that before the end of the day tomorrow. I meant to do it today, and I completely got tied up with something else.
But we're
You
on
could
it,
put
Dennis.
some straw bales in front of that mound, at least to stop some of it.
Silt fence is part of it, plus he doesn't have silt sacks on a whole bunch of catch basins that he needs to
Yeah.
have.
Oh, very good. All right, thank you, Ed.
Sure.
Thank you, Ed.
Evan, anything else?
I make a motion we adjourn.
We
We got board and committee reports.
have to do the
Committee
committee
report.
reports first.
Oh,
Skipping the fun stuff, Dennis.
Cape Cod Commission,
I have no report.
Community Preservation,
No report.
Design Review.
We met this week, Outlander Landscaping, former Mashpee Landscaping, came to us with a proposed building and contractor yard at 118 Echo Road. We conditionally designed, given approval, barring color schemes for the building, an updated landscape plan, and waiting on the sign plan, but otherwise approved.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, do
Thank
you
you.
mind just real quick if I jump in? The phone is ringing here again, and we're not in a public hearing. I just wanted to ask you if you want me to respond and transfer this call in, or
No, the public hearing's been closed.
could you just make a statement to that effect for those folks who are watching?
Yes, for those watching, the public hearing has been closed. The period for public comment has passed. Okay, plan review.
Plan review met to review the same site plan that Joe had just discussed at 118 Echo Road. Again, outer land landscaping. The plan review approved with conditions. There's one aspect of the site that will require waiver from the Board of Appeals. Our zoning requires that the parking lot design include a 1-to-5 ratio of landscaped area to permitted parking spaces. Unless due to the shape or configuration of the parking area, such landscaping would be impractical. They've proposed less than a 1-to-5 ratio and will require that waiver, but that was noted to the Board of Appeals and is within their discretion to contemplate and vote. So it was approved with certain conditions. And that was the only application that plan review reviewed over the past 2 weeks.
Thank you. Environmental oversight, we did not meet, so there's no report. Historic District Commission,
no report.
Military Civilian Advisory Council.
No meeting.
Thank you. I'm remembering now, we had Mr. Klein had a couple of questions about public comment. I think we addressed those in the conversation with discussing the schedule and then with Ms. Cox. There'll be plenty of opportunity for public comment during our specific meetings towards zoning, and then certainly after June 30th it sounds like the Commons is planning a number of listening sessions and public meeting sessions. So I think there'll be plenty of opportunity for input.
I think he had also he had made a suggestion relative to graphical representations of the proposed development.
Yep.
And the pattern book will answer many of those questions, which the board and the public then would receive on June 2nd.
Right, I expect it will. And then if we set up the website as you suggested, that then it's available for everybody.
Yeah, and then I'd also like to note, as the board is well aware, but I'm always accessible in my office to field questions relative to the process or specific zoning, technical related aspects. 508-539-1400, extension 8521, always available.
Great, thank you, Evan. All right, there was a number of correspondence. Anything that we should be paying real close attention to, Evan?
No, it's all pretty standard correspondence. They provided comments that Mary had mentioned, that the email she had submitted to the record relative to the last expansion conversation that included form-based code. Some comment from the public that were submitted or included in your packets. We will compile those correspondence and make them part of the record and include on the website. So.
Very good. Okay, anything else for the good of the board?
Come on, Dennis.
King?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.